You are Locked On Dodgers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Alrighty, another win for the Dodgers over the A's and a series win. Their first series win on the road in like forever. I think in 6 series or something. So that's nice to see. Still just the A's, but a win is a win. Is a win is a win. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. 3-2 the final today in their final game against the A's at the Oakland Coliseum. And I think that is maybe a bigger story than this win for the Dodgers. Definitely a nice win. River Ryan looked good. The offense was good. They held on to a lead. They played well on Sunday. All things that we don't always see from them, and especially on the road. So, this felt good. But Steven Nelson got into it a little bit right at the very end. This end to the A's in Oakland, whether you like the Oakland A's or not, whether you're from SoCal and you hate anything from the Bay like me when it comes to sports, it's just sad and unfortunate. It really is. It to me feels a lot like when the San Diego Chargers left San Diego for LA because the city just wouldn't support them getting a new stadium. Now, I don't know all of the back and forth and the details of what went into this Oakland A's move to Sacramento for the next 3 years and then on to wherever. I thought the Vegas thing was a done deal, that they were going to tear down the Flamingo or something and build a stadium right there across from MGM. But apparently that's not a done deal yet. That's still up in the air. The bottom line is they are leaving Oakland and they're going to Sacramento, where they're going to play at a minor league stadium for at least 3 years, which will be different and interesting because that stadium holds like 8,000. But it'll be cool for the people of Sacramento, big baseball fans up there. And the bottom line is that Oakland can't figure it out. The Raiders left, the A's are leaving. It's just a bad situation all in all for Oakland fans when it comes to their sport teams. It's really, really unfortunate and sad. By the way, today's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use the code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of $100. Dodgers squeak one out to win this series 2-1, 3-2 the final today. I guess we'll get into the history of the A's in Oakland a little bit later. We should probably focus a little bit more on the Dodgers rather than the A's, even though it's the end of an era. They've been there at the Coliseum since the 60s, and it's not like they've been garbage. They've been good. World Series. I mean, honestly, when I think back to great victories for the Dodgers, I think of 1988, even though they won a World Series, quote unquote, in 2020. It is, you can say whatever you want. You could say it was harder than a regular World Series. You could say it was easier. You could say it was half a World Series. You could say it was a fake World Series. You could say whatever you want. It's still a World Series in the books. There is still a trophy at Chavez Ravine in the front office with all the flags. Still a World Series. But the last real World Series for me is 1988 when they beat the Oakland A's. And the Oakland A's were heavily favored in that. It was a big deal. That was, that's what made a lot of guys legends in Dodger lore. Kirk Gibson, Orel Hershiser, etc. So the A's have been a storied franchise, and for them to be leaving, it's not like there's some, half-assed garbage. Well, they kind of are half-assed, but because they don't want to spend any money. But they, in the past, have been a franchise that has competed for World Series and won World Series, and a long time solid history there in Oakland, and now they are moving to Sacramento. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Dodgers a 3-2 win today. One of the good things that came from this series, I believe at least 11 of 18, if not more, runs in this series came with 2 outs, and that's clutch. So the Dodgers really have been struggling to be clutch in any way, shape, or form. They've been struggling offensively until last night when they broke it open in the 9th inning, and then kind of continued that over today, scoring a couple in the first, one in the third, and then the bullpen made it stand up. Thanks in large part to River Ryan, who had a really, really solid outing, and then they went and got him at just the right moment, and Evan Phillips came in and absolutely slammed the door. They gave him that 1/3 of an inning, 4 pitches, 3 strikes, end of an inning, end of the threat, and the Dodgers hold on for the win. So you could give a lot of the credit for this victory to Evan Phillips, who has been pretty good, pretty okay his last couple of times out. So maybe he's starting to find that mojo again. But scoring with 2 outs is a cool thing. That builds confidence that they're fighting, they're grinding, which I've criticized them for of late, that they don't, they get 2 strikes and it's strike basically the next pitch is a strike 3. But we've seen some occasions lately where batters have battled with 2 strikes. Andy Pajes did it yesterday, and he's not known for that. He's like, 0-2, here comes strike 3, and he swings at a bad pitch, but he got a base hit. I believe Kike did it yesterday. So, a little bit of resiliency, a little bit of determination and grit, which is nice to see. River Ryan, almost 5 innings, 4 2/3, 3 walks. Don't love that, but he had 4 Ks, gave up 2 runs on just 5 hits. I thought the sinker and slider and even the curveball looked pretty good. He got a couple of crucial strikeouts on the off-speed pitches that were occasionally wild, not all the time. I feel like if you had to grade his off-speed pitch, it would be like A-, B+, because there were times when it was bad and he would throw a decisive pitch out of the strike zone for a walk. Again, 3 walks, but 4 strikeouts. He had the first one on a slider, then a curveball, then a fastball. I believe the last one was on off speed as well. So a nice outing from him. Got into a nice rhythm there. 1, 2, 3 in the 4th on just 12 pitches. He had one, I believe it was the 3rd, just 8 pitches. Anytime you can be under 10, that's good. 75 total in the outing. The ERA stays under 172. I don't know if this is a guy that you're going to keep around postseason when Yamamoto is back with Jack Flaherty, Tyler Glasnow, and Gavin Stone. Maybe River Ryan's a middle relief guy. I don't know. I do know that they felt like he's a little bit ahead of schedule. He's at the big club earlier than they expected, without a doubt, but pitching well. So did not get the win today. Vesia got the win, going 1, allowing nothing but zeros and 2 Ks on 15 pitches, 1.88 ERA for him. Daniel Hudson, 1 K, the rest zeros. Trinan gave up 1 hit, 1 K, the rest zeros. And Bonda comes in to get the save, his first save. He's pitched well of late. I don't know if he's your closer. I don't know if he's a high leverage guy. Thought for a second, maybe they'll throw Kike out there again, but 1-run game, when you want the win, when you feel like you need the win, you're not going to do that. But they did mention jokingly that Kike was available after his save, or not really save, his inning of pitching last night, where he threw nothing but 43-mile-an-hour sliders, got one up to around 60 at some point. I don't know, mixed in a fastball, Kike, maybe. Dodgers, a 3-2 win. The runs came courtesy of Kike Hernandez again and Cavan Biggio. We'll get into the Diamond Dogs list here in just a little bit. Teo Hernandez, another nice performance at the plate. Jason Hayward had a hit, but Kike, the only guy on the box score with multiple hits. So he continues to be red hot, and we'll get into his numbers in this series and over the last week or so, because I think maybe that it feels like, to a certain extent, he heard my criticism of him not necessarily being an everyday player and took it to heart. I know he didn't, but it feels like that, because I might need to swallow my words and apologize, because Kike's been red hot of late, and we'll get into that after the break. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. You make me your first listen during the weekend, and you make Jeff and Vince, the Locked On Dodgers podcast hosts, your first listen during the week. And we appreciate you everydayers being loyal listeners to the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll hit the break and come back. Dodgers with a 3-2 win to improve to 65-47, 31-27 on the road after the 3-2 win. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. Just you against the numbers. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 players and their stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I was talking to a buddy who lives in Kentucky, Louisville, and their betting rules just changed recently, but I think first of the year, but prior to this year, so last year and before, they would have to drive over the bridge into Indiana to use FanDuel or PrizePicks or any of those. Actually, no, PrizePicks was, that was the point of his story. He's like, PrizePicks was available in Tennessee, and at that point in time, others were not available. So they didn't feel like making the drive over the bridge to use the other apps. So they would just play on PrizePicks because it was more convenient. And that's the deal we got going here in California as well. The other ones aren't available to us, so we have to use PrizePicks, and that is the reason I am a loyal member and subscriber, or whatever you want to call it, because it's available here where it's not available to other options are not available because of the rules. But PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And they have cool promotions, like they lower the stat projections for you on Tuesdays, and on Fridays you can get your entry fee back if you lose. So go to prizepicks.com, use the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you can get a first deposit match up to $100. They have quick deposits and easy withdrawals. My initial deposit was super painless and hassle-free. So go to prizepicks.com, create a username and password and all that stuff, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Dodgers 3, A's 2. The win goes to Vesia, who went 1 scoreless inning with 2 Ks, but River Ryan did his job. 4 2/3, 2 runs on 5 hits. Don't love 3 walks, but it wasn't terrible. 4 Ks, and he did surrender 1 home run in the first inning, which accounted for all of the A's scoring. But the bottom line was he got out of jams, and I really like to see that. Today's Diamond Dogs list goes like this. For number 5, Teoscar Hernandez, a double in the first inning, came on a 1-0 cutter. He got on base, and then Kike, 2-out, 2 RBI double in the first, came on an 0-2 slider. So nice battling back there for Kike, part of 2 hits on the day for him. For number 3, Jason Hayward, a 1-out single in the third. It came on a changeup, which kind of floated right over the zone. And there was a lot of talk in this series about Jason Hayward's positioning in the box. And I kind of agree that he stands so far back, deep, not deep, but out, away from the plate in the box, that it seems like it's hard for him to get the pitches on the outside half of the plate. But he's definitely got long arms, and it appears to be where he's comfortable. But it seems like if he maybe took half a step towards the plate, it'd make his life a whole lot easier. But this changeup that he hammered in the third inning was that kind of pitch. It was middle to out, and he laced it up the middle. So, hey, wherever you feel more comfortable, you do your thing in there. He's been pretty good of late. His batting average would not show that. He's at 207, 299 on base percentage, and a 387 slugging percentage. But he's been productive, and he's been involved in the Dodgers scoring of late as well. As for number 2, Cavan Biggio, an RBI single in the third, scoring Hayward, which was absolutely roped. It's the thumbnail I used for tonight's episode on Facebook. YouTube. And it's textbook hitting. I mean, that is Cavan Biggio squaring one up, to be sure. And for number 1 tonight on the Diamond Dogs list, Kike's leadoff double to right in the 6th. Was a really nice piece of hitting down the right field line. Kike was 6 of 10 in this series. That's good. And he's 11 of 31 of late. I don't know how far back that goes because he doesn't play every day all the time, but he has been playing every day lately. So you just keep doing that and you'll get your reps until Max Muncy comes back. And then we'll have to see how it goes because, my prediction is that Max Muncy's going to come back and struggle to find his rhythm because he's not an average guy. He's a guy that, hits long balls, and we are okay with him having a 220 average. What we're not okay with is Shohei Ohtani continuing to slump. 0 for 4 today, 2 Ks. Again, they weren't good at bats, swinging at bad pitches, head out of the zone. It feels like Shohei Ohtani could use maybe a day off, a little time in the cage. I don't know. Struck out looking the first at bat in the first inning. It's never a good sign when your leadoff hitter strikes out looking. Then he flied out to left and then flied out to right. None of those balls were terribly threatening in any way. They're always fairly hard hit when Shohei makes contact. But that strikeout in the 7th was not pretty, flailing, corkscrewing himself into the ground and just didn't look good. So he's part of this slump that's going on for the Dodgers. Again, I feel like part of that is the fact that he has maybe just the pressure that he's put on himself. I don't think anybody else is putting pressure on him. I think he's putting it on himself. Nando, I am not anti-Shohei. Nando says not a big Ohtani fan. I'm a very big Ohtani fan. I got nothing against Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is great. Shohei Ohtani is fun to watch. He's polarizing to a certain extent because his technique is bizarre. And there's no way to argue that. You cannot argue that his technique is strange. It is unique. But I think I'm trying to lower my expectations for Shohei, but my expectations from the start of this contract with the Dodgers, where they're paying him $1 billion or whatever, my expectations are probably unfairly high. I'll give you that. I got nothing against the guy earning, that kind of money, but with that comes a little bit of extra pressure and higher expectations. So when he, just goes up and throws up an offer and looks bad doing it, I have to call it out. I can't be like, oh, get him next time. He'll be fine, because he will be fine. I don't think it's going to be an issue where Shohei turns into a 240 hitter. He's going to continue to put up good numbers. I got nothing against him. Not a bad hitter. He is a guy that I call a stop what you're doing hitter most of the time, especially when he's hot. And I also feel like Shohei Ohtani is a guy that thrives on the pressure, thrives on the spotlight. So he is going to take it to a different level, in my opinion, in higher leverage games, late in September, in the playoffs in October, and games that mean more. I feel like Shohei Ohtani is going to show up in those games. These games probably don't feel like they mean all that much to him. So he's kind of like, whatever. And I feel like there's pressure that he's putting on himself, the same kind of pressure that Teoscar Hernandez is putting on himself, and maybe even Gavin Lux. Will Smith probably feeling a little bit of the pressure, being one of the better hitters on the Dodger team, the absence of Max Muncy and Mookie Betts and these guys that are Freddie Freeman, big-time hitters, big-time major league quality hitters that are not playing for the Dodgers right now. So there's no way for them to just kind of forget about and ignore the pressure that's going on over their head right now. Winning 2 of 3 in this series is nice. It feels good. The first time they won a series on the road in 6 different series. They were 11 of 13 after Friday's loss. So now, what does that make them? 11, 12, 13 of their last 15. No, that would be losses. I need to take it the other way. It was 11 of 13 losses. So now 11 of 15 losses. So that's better. And as far as the standings go in the West, Dodgers are still up now on the Diamondbacks. They gained a game somehow with these 2 wins because the Diamondbacks and the Padres are still hot. They've won 8 of 10. Dodgers, the 2-game winning streak has them 5 up on both of those. So that's the thing we care most about right now is staying ahead of those guys, in my opinion, as we kind of just tread water, waiting for Freddie and Mookie and Max and all these guys to get back in the lineup. A 3-2 win today. They win the series in Oakland, their final series at the Oakland Coliseum. And after our final break, we're going to talk a little bit about the A's and just their history there in Oakland and, what the future has in store for them. It's definitely going to be interesting, to be sure. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. That's where you check out Jeff and Vince doing the Locked On Daily Dodgers podcast. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast is brought to you by Liquid IV. Blast off with the iconic summer flavor of popsicle, firecracker, festive blend, or citrus-fueled lemon lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on the Liquid IV website, from acai berry and lemon lime to pina colada. A lot of times these enhancers that create extra vitamins and nutrients and keep you from getting dehydrated, a lot of times they don't taste all that good. But these guys have figured that out, and they have all these unique flavors for you. So check out their website. It's powered by Live Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary water. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, all non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. Now, more thirsty summers when you indulge, no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using the code MLB at liquidiv.com. Dodgers a 3-2 win to win this series. They scored in the first, they scored in the third, and that would be it. The bullpen came in and slammed the door. Evan Phillips, a crucial third of an inning, striking out whoever he faced on just 4 pitches when River Ryan got into a bit of a jam. So that was nice to see. And then Alex Vesia had a really nice at-bat as well in his frame, where he got down 3-0 and battled back to strike out Butler, which was a really nice pitch sequence for him, down 3-0, getting the strikeout. So the bullpen maybe getting back on track a little bit, finding a little bit of energy, a little bit of life, getting at least 4 to 5 from these starters, not having to come out and work terribly hard. Evan Phillips maybe finding a little bit of energy. All of these wins against inferior teams are necessary. You know, you can slough it off like I kind of did yesterday, but the fact is that you got to win these games, and you got to get the energy. You got to find the momentum wherever you can, because they're Major League Baseball teams too. And the A's, although they have a terrible overall record of 46-67, they're fairly decent at home, just a couple of games under 500, and they have been playing much better through the month of July. So they beaten up on the Angels left, right, and center after the Angels were beating up on the Mariners, who at the time were in first place. So that was kind of an interesting little series there. The Angels went into Seattle and swept the Mariners, and then they go in to face the A's, and they just get roughed up by the A's. So a decent win. Don't want to say it was a great win, but winning is winning for the Dodgers when they're struggling like they have been on the road. 65-47 now, 31-27 away from Chavez Ravine. As for these Oakland A's, who are finishing off their last season in Oakland, where they started playing in 1968, these guys have World Series titles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, a lot of those were before their time in Oakland. They were obviously in Philadelphia and then Kansas City as well, but they won a World Series in 1910, 1911, 1913, 29, 30, and then the 70s rolled around. They won 3 consecutive, which is not something we are ever going to see. That's never going to happen, I don't think, in our lifetimes. 3 consecutive World Series. There's just too much free agency, too much going on, and too many players moving around for anybody to repeat, let alone three-peat in Major League Baseball. That was the Reggie Jackson here, Joe Rudy. I mean, Vida Blue. They have some legend. They have 6 retired numbers in this franchise. Legendary teams. And the fact that they're going to be playing in Sacramento at a minor league stadium, it's kind of unfortunate and sad. The Dodgers beat them in 1988. That was a huge World Series in Dodger lore for their team. Made Kurt Gibson a world famous superstar. Oral Hershiser, that whole team that was right around a couple years after I graduated from high school. And, it just super memorable part of my childhood, beating the Oakland A's, because they were highly favored. They had Eckersley out of the bullpen, who was practically unhittable. So there was just a lot going on with this franchise. And they, they've had the Billy Beane era. I think he's still there as far as I know. No, he's actually not. He's not the general manager anymore. I feel like he's still involved with the organization, but the money ball stuff is very cool. That movie's fantastic. It's fairly true to form. I don't think it's Hollywooded up too much. What Billy Beane, Brad Pitt did with that organization on a shoestring budget was amazing. Now, they never won any World Series, but they were always competitive. They got to the playoffs. They went on that huge winning streak that one year. And all based on guys that had certain statistics, not based on how much they were paying these, highly touted Shohei Ohtanis who deserve $800 million. They did it with their brains and not with necessarily with the just go get the next guy, the most expensive guy. Let's go get the guy who fits our statistical, whatever you want to call it, analytics the best. And it worked. It worked for a long time. And that's also very, very interesting and cool. So there's just a very cool history about this team. And it is kind of unfortunate that the city of Oakland lost their football team a few years ago. They lost their basketball team. They're still across the bay, but they're not in Oakland anymore. They're now in San Francisco, and now they're going to lose their baseball team. If you live in the Oakland area, if you live right around the bay there, it's got to just be really depressing. Everyone's leaving and no one's coming. No one's coming in. At least San Diego still has the Padres, and they got San Diego State. But think about it. Oakland also has lost Cal. Well, they didn't move. They're still there. But it feels like they lost them because they're now in the Big Ten. But Sal Bando, right, Manuel? Exactly. Catfish Hunter. Lots of legends on this team. So for them to be marginalized to Sacramento, and then what happens after that? Who knows? Probably Vegas. More than likely, they'll figure that out. They got 3 years to do it, but it's just really, really strange. Again, San Diego still has the Padres, but just everyone is abandoning Oakland. And I do my ex-wife is from that area, so I've spent a fair amount of time up there, and it's a nice area. They're good people and all of that. Very different from San Francisco. And it feels sad for the sports fans of that area that there's just like everyone's leaving. Fortunately, Raider fans just follow the team. It doesn't really matter where you live. If you're a Raider fan, you're a Raider fan. I don't know how it's going to go for the A's. Are the Oakland fans going to follow them and drive up to or down and out to Sacramento? Potentially. I mean, I think it's about an hour. It's not that far. So we'll have to see. Just very interesting and kind of sad that they couldn't figure it out. Figure out a way to redo the Coliseum, modernize it, maybe tear it down, build a new stadium. I don't know. It feels like these teams need new stadiums every 20 to 25 years. I think that's a bit ridiculous. As I said, I was just in Arizona at Chase Field on Monday, and I was asking my buddy who does radio there. I go, are there discussions about getting a new stadium here? Because this one's about 20, 25 years old. He's like, yep, it's happening. And Chase Field is one of the more modern indoor fields there is, but they are talking about tearing it down and building a new one. So it comes with the territory that teams want new stadiums. It creates more revenue, and it is something that a community should expect. So the fact that they couldn't work it out, just like San Diego couldn't work it out, is really, it's just unfortunate. for a legendary franchise like the Oakland A's. Dodgers take 2 of 3 in their final appearance at the Oakland Coliseum. A 3-2 win today. They are back in action tomorrow with the Philadelphia Phillies in town. And we know how that all went in Philadelphia not too long ago. It was UGLY. You ain't got no alibi, you ugly. And we just have to hope that the Dodgers can keep this momentum rolling from this series win into tomorrow against the Phils. They'll start it at 7:10. It'll be Tyler Glasnow versus Aaron Nola, and I will talk to you right after. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk tomorrow.